Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Turgon the Wise coming at you with a new video today. And today we're going to wrap up season 16. We're going to do a recap video and kind of walk through, to the best of my ability, the sequence of events that occurred over the course of this season. It was, a really good season. I would actually honestly have to say this might be, in terms of like overall server activity, the best server I've seen since 2.0 dropped almost a year ago. Um, there was a lot of active players on the server, over 1,000, I would say, at some points. And I don't think that any server I've seen since 2.0 started has had this much activity. So that from that standpoint, it was very, very exciting. A couple seasons ago, we had a really, really great server with 8 really strong teams, but that's 800. So 800 last I checked is less than 1,000. So although that was also a really sick server, this server I think in some ways edges it out. I think that server had more intensity in terms of the competition over a more prolonged period of time. That server really wasn't decided until the very last, you know, day or so. Anything could have kind of happened leading up to um, when that countdown hit zero to end the season. Whereas in this season, things have been wrapped up here for, I would say, probably the better part of a week, maybe two. We'll get into that in a little bit. So, first and foremost, just want to thank everyone who participated on this server. Like I said, it's been a hell of a server. Um, there was a lot of surprises, and all of them, from my standpoint, uh, were pretty good, and we learned a lot. And I hope that other people on the server learned a lot as well. Um, from that standpoint, it's always good. If you don't learn anything, if you're not learning and growing and getting better, um, then I don't know. What are you doing? So let's go to the map. We'll start with the map. Recap with the map. Show you the end of the map. Holy smokes. Look at all these red pins. It's crazy. Um, there was a lot of change, I would say, on this map. The evolution of the map. You can really, if you go back and you watch, I really worked hard this season to make sure that I was putting out a video every week to 10 days. So you can kind of go back and look at the map that I shared video over video to see how this map evolved. I'm going to walk you through it here. Yudz started down in the Darklands, Gods and Land of Five Streams, Hisp, Free, and Turd in the east, Bull Dome in Iron Hills, RUSC and LCDR in Ered Mithrin, Eilil and Order in Forodwaith, Theo and Neon in, I believe they started in Enidwaith. And this little purple team here was in the beginning of the season, I believe, Cum and Luna. And it ended up, I think, Cum and Apes maybe merged, and then with Luna as well. I think Luna stayed separate from them, so what the little guy out there is. But Apes didn't, while they ended their season out here, they started the season out in the Darklands with us. They were the only other team that spawned in Darklands with us. And when the season started, we talked, we got together immediately, of course, just to kind of, lay down like, hey, they're like, look, we're not trying to be a thorn in your side. We just want to get the hell out of your way. And we were like, all right, cool. Well, how can we, help facilitate that? And they're like, well, they kind of wanted to go through this pass and go up into the northeastern part of the map to fight with some of the other war bands up here. And we were like, all right, that's cool. So we farmed our asses off here, a couple days. I think it was like day three, I want to say, we took this pass. think so. I think it was day 3 or 4 we took this pass. It was pretty early. And that first week you're really working to expand and establish your kingdom. And we noticed by about, I want to say it was day 5. It might have been sooner than that because we started on a Tuesday. And I'm pretty sure by that first weekend, we saw just an enormous amount of bases and relocation pads being set up over in the hills of Rune here by Hisp and Free, and that kind of signaled that an attack was coming. And we were still working to establish our kingdom, so we were kind of caught a little flat-footed. Um, Not really, you know, you have to prioritize kind of vigorously, and when you see a threat mounting all the way on this flank, on this side of the map, you need to address it. But apes were here, getting ready to go up there, so um, this led to a collaboration with apes and us. We accepted apes into our kingdom, so that then if we got attacked at the pass, we wouldn't be bumping into each other trying to defend it. And I believe, now that I'm thinking about those specific events, apes actually did capture the pass. So we couldn't defend it because they weren't in our kingdom. So by bringing them on board, it enabled us to be able to fight along their side to defend this pass. And we did. And we pushed into Hills of Rune. We actually made it all the way to the Hills of Rune Keep with apes, but we the tiling prowess of Hisp and Free was really impressive, I gotta say. Um, and they had some strong players as well. And one of the things that um, just kind of in general drives me a little crazy about Hills of Rune is like you got to come through the pass all the way up here and around and down to get over to the keep. It's not like a straight shot. Like there's some mountains and terrain and stuff that block you here. So you got to go all the way up here and around and down. And there's this over here, this crossing, and there's another one over here. So there's multiple entry points, where they can send people to come and defend. So it was very, very challenging to take it, and we eventually got pushed back to the pass. By about day 10, if you watch my day 10 video, my I think it's like my 1 week video, but it was on day 10, we had then formed a kingdom with gods. We broke kingdom with apes and started forming a kingdom with gods. We started the season um, not necessarily kingdoming with gods because we wanted to see how the server was going to play out, and you know uh, if need be, fight each other if it wasn't looking like it was going to be a competitive server. However, it was brought to our attention that all of these kingdoms, except for the purple one, all of them, one, two, three, four, five, all five of these kingdoms had made an agreement, a coalition, if you will, to flatten us. So it kind of forced us to join forces as quickly as we could. Now, one of the things that we learned was after you drop your kingdom partner, there is like a 48-hour cooldown. It's either 48 or 72. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it took a couple of days after apes dropped for us to be able to bring gods on, and those days were um, tumultuous. So while all that was happening out in the East, we're still trying to get our squads organized, figure out like who's going to go where and do what. All of those kind of logistics were still being worked on. We had done that in the preseason. We had used a 5 squad format last season, and that was because the game forced you to. You had 5 squads of 20 players. This season, they eased that restriction, so you could have uh, squads of up to 40 players. So we strove to deploy a 3 squad format, similar to like how Yadu used to function back in the day. Um, Shout out to all my old Yadu friends and Come to think of it, I just want to throw a couple of shout outs to some old RP friends. Like the Fence, Adeline, you guys. I think of you guys often. Lion Warrior, good peeps out there. Hope you're all doing well. Anyway, back to the recap. While all that was happening out here against Hispin Free, we were also making a push into taking keeps, farming the land, and pushing up into Undeeps. And there was a lot of fighting in Undeeps for quite a while this season. I want to say probably anywhere from 30 to 40 days of the season. Really, there was action in Undeeps most of that time. Um, it was intense. It was good. It was a lot of fighting. The Hisp Free Kingdom uh, kept pushing out over here at this pass, and they had captured Ashen Plains. And then later, this Red Kingdom, Bull and Domi, came down through Withered Gardens. They had these and Withered Gardens. They didn't capture Withered Gardens, but they came down through the pass into Ashen Plains, which Hisp owned. It attacked our pass down here. So we're fighting two war bands here. We're fighting two war bands out here, and then we're fighting RUSC and LCDR uh, in Southern Anduin Vale. They're pushing into um, Undeeps from Southern Anduin Vale, and then you've got Eilil and Order pushing Undeeps from Lothlorien. So eight war bands versus one. Meanwhile, our partner gods were also fighting heavily against Eilil and Order in the Undeeps, and then holding the pass from uh, wherever this is, Fangorn. Yeah, thank you. The Fangorn into what is this? Helms. What is this called here? Gap of Rohan. So there was a lot of fighting. There was pins there for quite a while between gods Neon and Theo. So they're fighting four war bands. We're fighting eight war bands. With the overlap, of course, being Eilil and Order, who were the strongest of the 10 teams in the coalition and the folks who put it all together. And I got to tip my cap to them. They did an amazing job this season. Um, Happy they got second place rewards here, as you can see at the end, with the three caps. And Hisp also managed to get three caps here at the end, and we'll talk about how he got there very shortly. So it was rough. I'm not gonna lie. Like getting ourselves kind of organized, and we did really good job. Day after day, taking out the Fellowship fortresses that Bull were attempting to make. Why did they put me all the way over here? Jesus. Over in Ashen Plains, these two guys here. And we had such an advantage there because Hisp and Free owned Ashen Plains. So when Bull and Dome would start cooking their fortresses, because they didn't own the region, it was a 12-hour cook time to complete those. And that made it very easy for us to kind of, take our time and methodically go in there and destroy them. They realized this, and then eventually they pulled back to take Ashen Plains. When that happened, Hisp and Free made a massive push over here and successfully broke into. They got the pass, and then they got into Eastern Wastes, and they eventually took, I believe, within a day, Mad Orteg here, which is the control point to control this region. So Hisp and Free did own this region for a period of time. They uprooted a bunch of our bases that were here. We were a little bit scattered and disorganized, and that was a very pivotal moment in the season for us. It was looking like our opponents were about to break through and start ravaging our safe farm from this eastern flank. We were continuing to get some pressure here at the Ashen Plains Pass while these guys were taking that region and then coming back down here to attack us. We were able to regroup in Nern, get some bases set up over in here, and together with all the people that were over here and over here, we pulled a couple of people over from Undeeps as well. I think about 10 people came over, so huge help from that group. MVPs, every single one of you. Um, Although, to be fair, it was a total team effort across the entire kingdom. If any group buckled in any front, then we would have faced a catastrophic collapse. And we nearly did out here, but we were able to regroup and repush. We had a massive push Eastern Wastes. We went basically from Eastern Wastes almost all the way to this post house in about a day. And then we were able to, over the course of the next couple of days, work our way back up, recapture Mad Orteg and the pass, while continuing to defend against Bull and Dome over here. So while all that's going on, the rest of Yudz is over in Undeeps. I'm very intimately familiar with the East because that's where I spent probably about 60 to 70% of my season. Meanwhile, over here by Dol Guldur and the Undeeps, there was just constant pressure, between Islil and Order pushing from both Dol Guldur and Lothlorien, and then RUSC and LCDR coming through. SAV, Southern Anduin Vale, and pushing the tunnel over there. It was just a tremendous amount of fighting on a daily basis, 24/7. And you learn a lot of things. You learn teams when they're predominantly active, when they're doing their pushes, when they're doing their sieges. You kind of start noticing patterns about these different teams. And then you can start, after you get to know these habits of theirs, 2, 3, 4 weeks into the season, you can start then working to kind of exploit them. You know when the big push is going to come because the big push comes around the same time every day. Maybe an hour early, maybe an hour late. You notice these things and you can start kind of planning around them. And that's one of the unique aspects of the game that I'm talking about because I think, it's a war game, it's a strategy game, and how this impacted our strategy, you know, it's fun to talk about and think about and kind of get the wheels turning maybe for some teams that haven't considered these kind of things. We're a team that really is active just about all the time to some certain extent, so um, we, after we got ourselves resituated over here, we scheduled a massive attack to recapture the pass over here. We while we were capturing and retaking all this stuff, Bull and Dome did manage to grab the pass, and they held on to it for a few days. However, they did not continue pushing forward into Gorgoroth here. I don't know if they were just running on fumes or if we just really were strong enough that we could repel them. They were able to take the pass, but the other side of the tunnel, they could take the other side of the tunnel and maybe a tile or two, and then we would push them out. So I guess it would be interesting to know someone from the Bull and Dome side what that was like for you. What your experience was pushing down here, and like, did we just outplay you here, or was there something else kind of going on? Was there some hesitancy not to go too far for some reason that I'm unable to consider at this given moment? Uh, at any rate, we were successful at reclaiming this pass. It was one of the big morale boost points for us in the season. We picked a very specific time where we knew that Bull and Dome's activity was low. We drafted a very meticulously drafted plan. We executed with excellence, and really we took this thing with virtually no opposition whatsoever. Just completely annihilated it. It was really fun. It was a really huge moment for Yudes. It really boosted the spirits of a lot of us who have just been sitting at these choke points, entrenched for days and days and days, and hell, at this point, weeks. And it was nice to kind of gain some forward traction, some forward momentum. So those were huge moments for us, out here in the East, reclaiming Mad Orteg in the Eastern Wastes, reclaiming the pass into Hills of Room, and securing our safe farm by maintaining these choke points, and then pushing through the pass and into Ashen Plains, and eventually capturing Ashen Plains. What this did was it put pressure on these opposing teams, and we wore them down. They outpathed the Dickens out of us. Oscar J. Uh, arguably is one of the most intense pathers I've seen in a long time. I haven't seen anybody go to the lengths that I've seen to do things like cut off reinforcement lines entirely, not just like redirect them or intercept them. Straight up cut them off so that they could not get through at all. I've never seen anyone path to the point where they see you moving an army from over here to go and help out over there, and they box you in with flying units so that your main army is just sitting there trapped in a box of red tiles, unable to move, and you have to stop the commander and then use stamina either on that commander or another commander to get him freed out of the box or recall him altogether. Like, they did a really really great job out here. They used a lot of tactics that we were not used to seeing, and we've identified, things that we can get better at, and we're going to work on getting better at those things so that then, in future seasons, um, we're not necessarily a one trick pony. So that's the East in a nutshell. And what happened, everything just kind of stayed at a steady state also during this time in Undeeps. Our Undeeps warriors, we've been fighting in Undeeps every season the last 3 seasons. Undeeps is like my backyard at this point. I know where every single hole and rock is, where I need to be careful where I'm mowing the lawn. It's crazy. So our Undeep's warriors, there was a lot of back and forth, ILL and Order pushing forward, us pushing back, LCDR and RUSC breaking through in the tunnel into Undeep's, and us having to push them back. It was really, really, really intense. So eventually, through kind of wearing our enemies in the east down, we were able to have a discussion with them and facilitate a non-aggression pact with HISP. And that actually caused a bit of a rebellion with HISP and Free. The leader from Free who acted on their behalf was actually kicked out of the team by the team leader, and then he and his people, Dim, they went over to Turd, and then HISP dropped Free from their kingdom and picked up Turd as an ally. So HISP and Turd ended up getting these three significant structures to take home second place rewards. Uh, Honestly, Yudz had nothing to do with this. We kind of, after we secured Dol Guldur, just kind of wanted to hang out and PvP a little bit here and there and push a little here and there, but we wanted to specifically kind of allow the East to resolve on its own without our interference. We're not server police by any stretch of the imagination. Now, we kind of flipped sides with Gods before. Before Gods was out here, fighting with Neon and Theo and helping up here. So once we were all up here and pushing up here, we kind of switched spots and let Gods run up in here. Let them have some fun fighting some different people. And so their involvement, quite honestly, I paid zero attention to. Maybe they helped them significantly, maybe they helped them a little bit. I don't know. I don't care, to be honest. No offense. So anyway, we secured that nap with HISP and free. That allowed us to pull everyone from this front out. Then, as a consequence of this, Bull and Dome kind of saw the writing on the wall, and they said, "Hey, can we get a nap with you too?" They pulled their people out. We pulled all of our forces from the east into Undeeps, and that was kind of the writing on the wall for LCDR, RUSC, ILIL, and Order. RUSC and LCDR kind of started helping Bull and Dome versus HISP and not free, but turd. And there was a period where HISP lost their kingdom altogether. All their stuff was neutral because their capital was taken. It was a 4 versus 2. So I think gods did get involved a little bit there. They took LCDR and RUSC kind of pulled them away from all this. They didn't ever really honestly threaten the capital of LCDR and RUSC, but they went there, and by going there, they had pulled back to defend because obviously they wanted to keep their significant structure, and that kind of helped enable HISP and Turd to reclaim their capital from Bull and Dome, and then continue pushing them. So that's kind of what happened with the East. There's a lot of stuff out in the East. Out in the West, uh, apes after kind of returning to apes after we dropped kingdom with them and formed the kingdom with gods. Apes were like, well, what are we gonna do? And it was like day 10. And I was like, look, bro, if you don't want to be involved in all this, if I was you, I would just go somewhere else um, and see, fight other teams, and that's what they did. They came out here, and for a bit, they all fought one another, and then after they fought one another, I guess they became friends and formed their kingdom. And for a bit there, they had Grey Havens, and I think they had whatever this is, for Linden. They didn't have Nan Left Nui. Nan Lund. I'm sorry, no, Nan Left Nui is down here somewhere, right? Yeah, Nan Left Nui. Left Nui. I'm probably not pronouncing that wrong, and my Tolkien nerd, inner Tolkien nerd, is upset by this. But at any rate, they had a pretty decently substantial kingdom formed up here, and they decided they were gonna seek some PvP against Neon and Theo. So that is what pulled Neon and Theo away from this front, so that Gods and Yudes really could that gave us breathing room to really be able to facilitate everything that happened out in the east and allowed us to come together. So, um, we didn't do it all by ourselves. There was definitely some mitigating circumstances that helped to assist us, um, but it would be hard to argue against saying that we did a lot of heavy lifting this season, and as a result, you're about to see the final numbers for the season. They are, quite frankly, disgusting. Look at this guy, 47,000 production. Well done, Wolf Can. Wolf 6 Can. We're going to look at just the merit, just the top of the merit board. Gods and Neo and Gods, these guys just kept pushing, man. They kept fighting those guys and farming the merit, and we kind of chilled out the last week or so here. Miss Love, beautiful, beautiful. So that's really the merit is one side of it, but I think the fellowship contribution really is where you want to be looking here. My account 8.3 million with 8.2 million merit, so 83,000 contribution. Really, really happy with that. That is a huge, huge number. Um, that's not the only account I played, so I'm going to call out the other ones. But everyone on this list is absolutely disgusting player. Trooper 13, who are you? Did you? Who's changing their name on me like this? Come on, guys. You're making me go crazy. DP, Bury Devil, Mr. Donut. That was Formosa. They just sold Mr. Donut, who I believe is in order. Not that I should be calling that out on YouTube, but these things happen. It's part of the game. There ain't nothing wrong with it. I ain't judging. You do what's best for you. We wish Formosa well in all of his endeavors. I believe he is leaving the game altogether, from what I understand. Vessi, great, great, such a huge help, man, as we navigate some of the updates to the game. Darkness, Yeti fellow. I mean, the top 50 players all had 4.5 million merit plus. I mean, you look down this list, 64 players probably had about 4 million plus merit. Let's say conservatively 62. Batu, that's another account that I play every now and again. My original account, 4.8 million merit, almost 4.9. And coming down here, Evil Meat, Cheers Mate, Big Boy Blue. I love these guys. I love these guys. Galil, Seafreen, shout out to you, Seafreen, bro. Razor, good dudes. Good dudes. Now, Azurus to Wise, that's my third account. Shout out to my boy Azurus, who's retired from the game. Shout out to my boy D-Trope, who is also retired from the game. Can never stop thanking these guys enough. Great friends. Miss you both dearly. Hope you're doing well. Luthien, 2.8. I mean, we're over. This is more than half the kingdom, and we're still have well over 2 million merit. It's absolutely obscene. 133, let's say 130, ended up with 2 million at least. I mean, that is ridiculous. Keep going down the list to see how many had over a million. It's like literally more than 3/4 of the kingdom. It's disgusting. 179 players, let's say, had a million or more merit. And that's out of 167 that ended up in the kingdom. So it's a lot of merit. It's a lot. The commanders, there's I mean nothing that surprises you here. It's all the meta, except for this Bane. Somehow Bane's naked skull helm is at the top of the list. What a goofy guy. Shout out to Bane. Vizio, also a fine player from Order. Really a lot of much respect for everyone who was on the server. I got nothing bad to say about anyone, which is rare because I'm an asshole. So, I mean, that's basically your rundown of the season right there. Let me just check my notes real quick here to see if there's anything I may have missed that was significant. Yeah, I just want to make sure I call out that we honestly were completely blindsided by the 10 team coalition. We had no idea that was coming for us until like 5 or 6 days into the season, and we had to completely do it in an about face and adjust accordingly to the level of pressure that was going to be levied upon us. Um, so that was a huge aspect of this season. I mentioned losing Eastern Wastes. Yeah, I think that's basically, I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. What else can I cover real quick here? Because this is the last time we're going to get to see this map. This is the last time we're going to see certain aspects they're constantly tinkering and making changes to the game. For example, I noticed in the patch notes that they're going to be changing the requirements for the journey begins. They didn't say what they're changing the requirements to. For all I know, it could be a million, or 100,000 land tiles. It could be 20,000 land tiles. It could be something different other than how many land tiles you take altogether. Thank you for being so intentionally vague, developers, in what the changes are that you're making to this. I guess we'll just find out after it gets deployed and somebody starts the next season. I'll have to just, ask around. But I mean, these are the season chapters. It was so great to see so many active teams on this server. It was like literally so stressful, but such a breath of fresh air because this is what you want from a war game. There's nothing worse, in my humble opinion, in this game than one of two scenarios playing out. Scenario one, you crush everyone super easy and you sit around for like 3, 4, 5 weeks just waiting for the season to end. I don't think there's anything worse for a team than going through that because you have no forward momentum going into your next season. You're stagnant from sitting around. It's terrible. Conversely, you have a similar scenario where you join a server and you get your ass handed to you so badly that you just kind of get trapped in a little box and you're not able to expand or move around without getting your ass kicked. And similarly, you might get some good fights, but you really have absolutely no uh, shot or prospect at winning if that is your aim. And I have always been competitive in this game and sought to win in every season. There's been no season where I've been playing for second place. So I think that can be a very frustrating experience. So if anyone experienced that on this server, I empathize with you. Although in some ways, I mean, when you form a 10-team coalition with a specific goal of taking down, a specific team, um, you already have somewhat said, okay, we're going to do your bidding so you can win. We're going to be enablers so that the the powers that be, the strongest of the group in the coalition, are elevated and put in a position so that they can win, just so these other teams don't win. And in that scenario, had Eilil and Order won, it would have seemed like a victory to the other 8 teams. No? Am I wrong? Is that not what the desired outcome was supposed to be? Um, and I think it's challenging to play from a position of, well, we're playing to help this other team win. It kind of takes a little bit of your tenacity out of you because you're not playing for the win yourself. And I think everyone kind of secretly wants to win. Now, winning isn't everything. Fights are important, like I said. That being in a boring server where you win too easily, that is a killer. But also being gangbanged and or shoved in a box and not being able to do anything at all can also be frustrating when you don't have the resources to build enough troops to be able to do anything productive. Um, it's rough. So I get it. I totally get it, and I get all the perspectives, or at least I try to, and I think that that makes me a marginally decent human being. I know I admitted to being an asshole, and I'm not wrong, but I do have. I'm like Darth Vader, I guess. There's still good in me, or maybe I'm not Darth Vader. Maybe I'm a good guy with a little bit of bad, or my bad guy with a little bit of good. I don't know. You tell me. We got a comment section for all this wonderful stuff. Um, okay, is there anything else that I want to cover here? I've gone through a bunch of reports and a bunch of my other videos, and I've been babbling on for like 30 or 40 minutes now, so I don't really see a need to kind of go through reports, but I am absolutely thrilled between my 3 accounts to have accumulated nearly 15 million merit this season. I'll never experience a season like it again. And I'm grateful for this experience and all of the lessons that I personally have learned about myself, about the game, about being a leader, about being a teammate, about being a diplomat. Um, it was a tremendous season for me on a personal level, because I'm always seeking to better myself. So, at any rate, is there anything? I'm kind of just thinking through if there's anything else I want to chat about. In terms of the barracks conscription, earlier in the season before the big update happened, everyone was basically playing the small unit meta, and after the update, the small unit meta kind of took a hit. So been playing with calves, and I like what we're doing, but I think that over prolonged sustained engagements, this setup is not to be considered optimal. It's fun when you're kind of in that end of season phase and you have time to make Shire Protectors and Rams and Cavalry Archers and Knights and Swan Knights. It's fun, but it's not going to be practical when you're in the midst of a gigantic war. So we'll continue tinkering around with that next season and see what we can do. All the buildings pretty much maxed out. I didn't bother with the battlements of the Bowman Tower or even the Elite Training Grounds, to be honest. I mean, we're playing Tactics Evolved, and there really isn't anything special about this campaign. It's basically just another version of Calm with a handful of different skills that you just unlock. There's like no when Tactics Evolve was originally launched, you had to actually there was enough elite abilities that you actually could like try different ones out and they would do different things and you had to like strategize in some way to kind of unlock different variations on the meta. But like in this version, you just get your Elite 1 skill and you get your Elite and maybe you get an Elite 2 skill. You don't really need the Elite 2 skill for anything. I mean, it kind of helps, I guess, with lowering the cost of conscription. That can be helpful, but other than that, like the impact is really just not even there. So it's not calm where you have like all the kingdom buffs, or I guess it's Rings of Power now. I don't see calm anymore. I only see Rings of Power. I guess they changed calm to Rings of Power campaign. So I'm going to keep referring to calm, Rings of Power as calm, but I'm really talking about Rings of Power. I could call it ROP if you want. Um, it's not Rebuilding Glory where you've got all of the structure upgrades and shit. It's just kind of like vanilla in a way. It's like Kings of Men, but vanilla. It's not bad, but I would like to see it improved upon, and I believe a good number of people watching this video would probably agree with me. Okay, is there anything else we want to go through? We went through all of those. We went through the leaderboard. I want to talk about one other thing just randomly. This Red Book thing that they did, it's dumb, and I don't like it. I don't feel like taking the time to play through all this. Again, I completed the Red Book of Westernese. I think that was the name of it. Sorry, I just got myself mixed up with Game of Thrones with Westeros. I completed all this, and then they took it away, and now they put it back, and it's like this, and I don't know. It just why does it do anything? I don't know. Maybe I'll tinker with this more next season and report back my findings. I'm curious what your feedback is on whether or not the Red Book is even worth it. at all anymore. Uh, yeah, so that is it, my friends. I tip my cap again to all the competition on the server. Much love and respect to you all. Wishing you all good fortune in the wars to come. To our partners, gods, thank you for a tremendous season. You're terrific partners. I have nothing but the utmost of respect and regard for you guys, and wishing you all well as well. For everyone watching this video, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to listen to me jibber jabber for the last whatever 50 minutes. Thanks for watching my videos, watching my content. If you have any suggestions, questions, feedback, briefs, declarations, documents, leave them down in the comments below, or feel free to reach out to me on Discord. You know where to find me. If you don't, you can reach out to me in game as well. We'll be in Bag End by this time tomorrow. We'll be getting ready to pour it out. So we'll still be here for another day, but we'll be in Bag End before you know it. And hopefully within, a reasonable time frame, I'll be able to start bringing you season 17 videos. So stay tuned for that. And take care of yourselves, my friends. Turgon the Wise signing off for season 16. Take care of yourselves. Stay well. Cheers.